Hello, I'm Andrew Ellinas, and I'm being joined by Wayne Barnett from Maplebrook Services. We're talking about expat estate planning. So far, we've touched on wills. We've been talking about them quite extensively, actually. But the other thing that I'm very interested in is lasting powers of attorney, because that gives people the ability to ensure that their assets in the UK are being managed when perhaps they're not able to.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, at this time, we do not have a similar system of lasting power of attorney in Cyprus. I have submitted a dossier to government identifying the reasons and producing example documentation for hopefully Cyprus to incorporate a similar system in their legislation.
Is there a particular reason why Cyprus doesn't have lasting powers of attorney?
No, I don't think so. It's just something that's never been considered. If I can just explain what it's all about. The lasting power of attorney enables an individual to appoint somebody to look after their affairs, especially if they lose mental capacity. We all think of losing mental capacity as Alzheimer's, but it's not just that. It could be a stroke. It could be an accident. It could be any other sort of illness. I've had clients with motor neurone disease who have been unable to talk. They're unable to conduct telephone banking. I've had clients who have got a tremor in their hands who are unable to sign any documents anymore. They're unable to sign to access their funds, sell investments, etc. So a lasting power of attorney is a very, very important document. Generally, I recommend that anybody who's got assets in the UK, and especially is over the age of 50, but even younger than that, takes out a lasting power of attorney. The normal situation is if they're married, they would appoint their spouse or any other friend or family member that they trust. We also incorporate a reserve, a replacement, in case the person they initially appointed was unable to act. Sometimes we have issues because children especially may get upset that they haven't been included as an attorney. I had a situation recently where there was a couple, and they've got 3 children, 2 of whom live in the UAE, and the 3rd is in England. And they appointed each other as their attorney. And I suggested that we use the lad in London to be the replacement attorney if the spouse was unable to act for any reason. They said, oh no, we can't do that. We'll upset the other 2. So what we did is we appointed all 3 as replacement attorneys, but on the basis that they act what's called jointly and severally. Jointly and severally means that any one of them can make a decision. Jointly means that they all have to agree, but that could be an issue if they didn't. So jointly and severally is a very useful remedy and option. So that's the first thing, that you appoint somebody to act for you. With these documents, you can arrange for them to come into effect immediately, and not just when you've lost mental capacity. Because it could take time if you've lost mental capacity. You'd have to show doctors' reports and submit all of that, and that could take weeks, if not months. By electing to have the document effective immediately, you're able to get somebody to help and assist you, even if you've still got mental capacity. I've had one lady who over a winter broke her knee and her hip. And she did have an LPA in place, and she wasn't able to leave her apartment, which was on the 1st floor without a lift, apart from medical appointments, for months. But she was able to ask her daughter to access the bank account and send money over to Cyprus to pay her bills and her shopping. So they can be very useful.
So I just want to get this straight. So the person who is appointed, or the persons that are appointed, can actually do everything on behalf of the person in Cyprus?
Correct.
So a bank account, could sell property.
Indeed.
That could be quite dangerous.
You've got to appoint someone you trust. If they acted beyond that trust and beyond their powers to benefit anybody but the individual, that's a criminal event, criminal act.
And this lasting power of attorney only applies in the UK. So you can't do that in Cyprus. But can the person that you're appointing be in Cyprus?
Yes, the person could be anywhere. Previously, before COVID, there was a simple paper document that you had to take along to a bank or institution and present it to them to enable them to accept that individual to act on behalf of somebody else. Because of COVID and the inability to actually go into a bank or financial institution, the government in the UK rolled out very quickly some additional technology where these documents can now be accessed online. And that's very efficient and works very well.
So does that mean the bank can access it online? So you don't actually have to go and present the document to them. They can access it.
Correct.
That's useful.
Before COVID, there were 225,000 applications a year going in. They're 20-page documents, by the way. And it was taking 11 weeks to process. Post-COVID, now there's something like 925,000 applications a year, about 4,000 a day, which means that the Office of Public Guardian in the UK, the government department that deals with this, is actually scanning 80,000 documents a day. So, as I said, I've presented a package to government to try and replicate this situation. We are also working on a revised sort of technological system where it will all be online. So they won't have to do any scanning here. It'll be better than the UK system. So I'm hoping that we'll get that finished and the government here will accept that as being an improvement on the British system.
It sounds like it's a very complicated process. You say it's a 20-page document. This is not something, I presume, that an individual can fill out and sort out for themselves.
They can do it themselves, but these documents have been around now for over 15 years. The standard document is a little bit out of date. We add certain paragraphs into these documents in order to allow a lot more fiscal and financial flexibility to assist people who actually have to make use of these documents. Where people are doing it themselves, A, they probably won't have knowledge of these additional wordings that we put in. B, they are likely to complete the form incorrectly and have it rejected. I was having dinner with a cousin of mine a couple of weeks ago, and she'd done it herself in the UK. She said she sent it in 4 times. It was rejected 3 times because she got it wrong in certain areas.
Are there differences if you are talking about somebody who has come from Scotland, Wales, England or Northern Ireland? Are there differences between those regions of the UK?
They are, absolutely. The lasting powers of attorney that we're able to assist people with relate to England and Wales. Scotland has its own system, and actually you have to be in Scotland in front of a lawyer, a solicitor, to be able to complete a Scottish lasting power of attorney.
So you're advising anybody over 50 to have an LPA.
Absolutely.
What happens if they don't?
Things get frozen. Even joint bank accounts will get frozen if the bank is aware, because they're scared in these days of litigation that the person that's the joint holder is depriving the person that's lost mental capacity of their assets, and they're worried about potentially getting sued. So even a joint account is likely to be frozen if the bank or financial institution becomes aware of it. The problem here, in particular in Cyprus, is that I have 4 cases of couples who own a property here jointly, and one of them has lost mental capacity. They would love to be able to sell that property to release cash, to move whatever, to pay for care fees, etc. At the moment, those 4 people cannot actually achieve that result. And really, they're just waiting for the person that's ill to pass away. And that's a terrible thing, and that's why the government here should make it a priority. I don't think it's party political. Everyone would benefit. It's not just Brits who would be affected by this. Cypriot people are also affected. And it's a great document to have.
So your 2 strong recommendations, Wayne, are 1, get an LPA if you're over 50. And secondly, make sure that you've got a Cypriot will. How often should you check that will to make sure that it's up to date? Because, I mean, all our circumstances change, don't they? I mean, things happen in our life, and perhaps we need to look at the will. How often?
Absolutely. Actually, every mid-January, we write to all of our clients, Happy New Year. Has anything changed since we last spoke to you? Do you need to review your will? Have you got new grandchildren? Have your assets changed? And so we send a memory jogger to people. We charge a nominal fee for changing somebody's will, so it's not expensive to do. And we encourage people to review it, not to worry about it and have sleepless nights over it, but generally just to occasionally have a think, do I need to change something? My son phoned me a couple of days ago. He's just had a new child last Monday, and he said, Dad, I need to change my will. I've got to provide for the new baby. So, it's something we will be doing for him.
So we've talked about wills and lasting powers of attorney, and if you're watching and you'd like some advice from Wayne, how can people get in contact with you?
Okay, as was mentioned right at the beginning, I've been given a nickname, Wayne the Will Man. How that came about was a few years ago. I was at Paphos Airport, and somebody came up to me and said, aren't you Wayne the Will Man? And I thought, what a wonderful marketing tool. So whilst the name of our company is Maplebrook Services and our website is maplebrookservices.com, you can also find us at waynethewillman.com. We're in Paphos in Kisoniga, but you can call me by telephone 266 0080 or 99147650, and you can contact us by email info@maplebrookservices.com.
I would suspect that putting into Google Wayne the Will Man is probably the easiest way for anybody to remember how to get in contact
Absolutely,
with you.
And that's what I say. If I see people and are unable to give them a card, I say just remember waynethewillman.com and they'll find us.
Wayne, thank you very much for joining us. If you've enjoyed this expat estate planning, I'd be very grateful if you would share it across your